Hey everybody, how you doing? IntoWeapons back again with you. I got a pretty cool rifle to share with you today. Just picked this up from my FFL a few days ago, and I'm just going to do a quick unboxing video for you today. This is the PSL-54c 7.62 by 5.4R designated marksman's rifle. It's more or less a large AK-47, so it's an AK variant. It does have the same setup and everything that you'll find in a normal AK, just a little bit bigger obviously with the 7.62 by 5.4R cartridge. It is coming from Century International Arms. They had a limited release of these rifles again into the market, which is actually pretty surprising. These rifles weren't on the market retail-wise for I think 4 or 5 years, so to have a release of these again is pretty cool. One of the forums that I belong to, one of the members there, had received an email from Century International Arms letting him know that this rifle was going to become available. He was kind enough to share that information with the forum, and what I did is, went ahead and scrounged enough money together and bought this, fortunately before the oversell happened. But if you're friends with me on Facebook or like me on Facebook, you probably were already aware of this deal, because as soon as I found out about it, I did repost the information on my Facebook page. So another good reason to jump out there and like me on Facebook. You get a little bit of a head start on some of these deals, as well as a lot of the ammo deals that I find. So like I said, jump out on Facebook and like me out there, guys. You'll definitely have some heads up on some of these cool things that I find here. But this was a great deal. This came from Century International Arms. They had it as a base price of $859, right, or thereabouts. 849 maybe. It was 850 bucks, I think. Out the door after taxes, because they didn't charge shipping and handling. My FFL only charged me my FFL transfer fee. He was kind enough not to mark up the rifle when he did the order for me. So out the door, I got this for a total of $880, which was a phenomenal deal for a PSL, considering the fact that it also came with this LPS 4x6 Tip 2 scope, which is pretty standard for these PSL rifles. It's about a $175 scope, $150 to $175. They also sent 4 of these PSL 10-round detachable box magazines, which on the market right now, online, Gunbroker, and other retailers, they're ranging between generally $50 and $60, but they are as high as $70 on some retailers. So that was a pretty decent deal to get this whole package for $850. Now, if you have been with my channel for a while, you do know that I already do have one of these rifles. It was just imported by a different company, so it's known by a different name, but this is the FPK Dragunov that was imported by TGI, which is the reason it has the different name. Essentially, it's the same thing. They're both PSL-54Cs, but this particular one was imported and then built by TGI, so it does have an American-made or US-made receiver. The nice thing about the rifle that I picked up today, and there are a couple other differences between these two rifles, and I'll do a different video sometime in the future on the differences between the two, but this particular rifle that came from Century International Arms was actually 100% Romanian, so it does have the Romanian Cugir receiver as well as the Romanian barrel, which is a real nice feature to have on this rifle. Completely Romanian built is definitely generally a little bit better than the US made types that they kind of jumbled together here. So we'll take a closer look at this rifle, guys, and show you a couple of the features that it has. We'll start kind of down towards the bottom here, and this weapon is clear. It is covered in a light cosmoline on the outsides and pretty heavy cosmoline on the inside, so I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning on this thing before I ever take it out to the range. But it has the pretty standard Thumbhole Stock on the back here with the recoil pad that's made out of steel, but it does give it a little bit of play to it, so it's a nice little butt pad. The Thumbhole Stock on these original PSLs I'm not a huge fan of, just because it's really short. It's got a real short length of pull to it, so one of the reasons I upgraded to the Rhineland Arms Tiger Maple Stock on my FPK Dragunov. Moving up here, the receiver doesn't have as nice of a finish as the FPK, but that doesn't surprise me, being this is made and assembled in Romania, whereas the FPK was made on a US-made receiver and done by TGI here in the country. So it's got a little bit of a nicer finish on the TGI, but that's not a big deal. It's still got a pretty decent finish on here. You got the safety selector, obviously. You got a pretty decent trigger on there. I'll see if I can show you guys here. So it does need a little bit of work, but not a bad trigger. It does have the thicker FPK or RPK type receiver. I can't remember what they call that, but it is the thicker type receiver. The numbers on this particular rifle do not match, unfortunately, including the bolt to the receiver. I think the only numbers that did match on this was the receiver, the bolt carrier, and the upper gas tube here. If I remember correctly, the rest of the numbers did not match, but that's a little unfortunate. It would have been nice to have a matching one, but it is what it is. So, the nice thing about this particular rifle is it does have the side scope mount, obviously. You can put that tip 2 scope on there. Has the standard rear sights on the back here that an AK normally has. Has some pretty nice furniture on the front here. Everything's nice and tight. There isn't any loose wiggling. I can shake this gun and there isn't any kind of noise that's coming out of it. The rivets look good. Everything in the front here looks good. The barrel is a thin barrel, which is why these are really considered designated marksman's rifle, because they do inherently have a problem with where the barrel heats up and they'll start the groupings will start spraying left and right, or straying a bit further than what most sniper rifles are normally known to do. It does have the front sight system here that does have the muzzle brake, which is pretty standard for these PSLs, tack welded or spot welded on right down here on the bottom, so you need to grind that off a little bit to be able to remove that. Most likely I'll just keep it on there. These muzzle brakes that they have on here are pretty effective at hiding some of a flash at least, and keeping that recoil to a minimum. So this is a pretty decent rifle. Another feature that it has on it is get a sling attachment there, nothing fancy. It actually has a lightning cut here in the bottom of the handguard, which I'm not familiar with. My other FPK on the original stock didn't have that I remember. But another feature that it has, and unfortunately this doesn't work with all the magazines that I have. All the magazines do have matching numbers. They were all K-1787, so all the magazines match, but that number doesn't match anything on the rifle, which is not uncommon again. But it does have the last round bolt hold open feature on this particular rifle that works in conjunction with the magazine. On the back of the magazine there's this little tiny kind of detent there that will push the spring assisted lever up in here, so when the last round comes up, the bolt will catch on that last lever, there it's being pushed up, and it'll hold the bolt open until you chamber another, or put another magazine and chamber a round. So I'll kind of demonstrate that here. Just put it in there, crank it all the way back, and as you can see it stops. Short of, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get enough light in there, but short of where that magazine is, so when you need to reload, pop that magazine out, pop that magazine in. Well, of course, I'm not going to get anything here because I don't have a round in there, obviously, so that makes sense. But then you just chamber another round. So, unfortunately, like I mentioned, I think they only have 2 magazines that actually allow this last bolt hold open feature to work. I don't know if it has something to do with the making of the magazines or whatever the case is there. I haven't had a whole time to look at it, so I have to go back and do a little bit of playing with that. But it does have a chrome line barrel, which is pretty sweet. That'll help with some of that corrosive ammo if I ever use it, which I probably won't. As many of you know, the PSL-54cs do not allow you or don't want you to use the heavy ball ammunition. I think they prefer 170 grains or less. Otherwise, you really beat the hell out of your trunnions and beat the heck out of the whole gun in general. So, kind of a light ball ammunition is what is recommended for these particular rifles. Unfortunately, Century International Arms did oversell on this particular rifle, so they don't have them available anymore. It was a really short amount of time. I think it lasted probably 2 or 3 weeks before they sold out on it. So I believe they are expecting to get some more back in stock, but when they get back in stock, I have no idea. When they're going to sell them, I have no idea. And you know, really, with Century International Arms, being that a regular person can't just call them and ask them questions and order directly from you, you have to have your dealer do it. It's pretty difficult to find out that type of information. So I guess I was just kind of lucky, being that I was on the forum at the time that I was, and following the string of the information on this, and was able to order one when I did. But overall, pretty happy with the rifle. I need to get it out and do some cleaning and do some test firing on it, make sure it works all right. But for the price of $880 out the door, you certainly cannot go wrong for what you get in this package, that's for sure. It came with a manual. I don't know if I went over that. It came with the manual and the scope and the magazines and all that good stuff. Other than that, everything was pretty standard with it, just a standard brown box that it was shipped in. I believe they give you a 1-year warranty with it from the date that it was purchase, but I could be wrong on that. Hopefully I don't have any issues with it. So I did notice that the scope does need to be adjusted here on the bottom, tightened up a little bit because it doesn't have a real tight lock on the scope rail mount. So I'm hoping I can fix that up a little bit where I can get a nice tight scope fix on there, but we'll see. We'll see. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate watching, and until next time, guys, take her easy.